I think, space flight being so risky and the potential for so many things to go wrong, you always kind of have to be prepared. And how, we deal with crisis situations is, or at least how I've always dealt with them, is just try to compartmentalize. This is the term the Navy uses, the United States Navy. And that means you'll focus on the things you can control and ignore what you can't. And, like when you're flying the space shuttle and there are things you can do to blow the vehicle up if you make a mistake, you really have to just kind of zero in on that stuff and kind of like filter out all the noise, which is the stuff that you have no control. I've seen in my career, which is, spanned several decades of, military service, government service, working in very high stress, high demanding environments, different kinds of leadership styles. And I've seen good examples and bad examples. And the bad examples are usually those people that have one style. They're either too passive or too aggressive. I think the key to being a good leader is recognizing what kind of situation you're in. Situational dependent leadership. Sometimes it just makes sense to tell your people, hey, you guys go figure it out, you decide, you come back. I don't need to make that decision. Other times you just maybe get their opinions and then you make the decision. If it's a fire on the space station, that's the time to be a dictator. So it just depends on the situation. And I think also, to be a good leader, you also have to be a good follower. You have to have good followership skills, because then you know what you're looking for in the people that you bring on board. It's because, you can't do anything by yourself. It's really all about teamwork. And I think, situational dependent leadership is very, very critical. And it's kind of sad to see when there are people, in certain organizations that just really focus on one style and ignore the rest. Well, for me, I was fortunate that I had flown a previous flight of 159 days, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. So I paced myself appropriately. I rested when I could. I wasn't too ambitious with the personal projects we can get into in our free time. I mean, my free time was mostly devoted to me, getting the right amount of rest and doing things that I wanted to do, as relaxation versus some, special project. And then try not to look too far ahead. You look. I would try to look for the next big event and not try to look towards the end, because when you launch in March and you're coming back in March, that's a really long time, and it's hard to imagine that you're not going to be able to leave for a whole year.